invented for rescues of red-faced inhabitants from burning tenements or reckless experiments by beings with no wings. For nighttime arrivals among nations who were nameless and such a long way from home. For space shuttles returning from Mars, for armies in freefall, for testing the density of air which today is heavy as apples. For small Georgia Broadwick, who did it at 5 over Los Angeles. For stepping out into sky in high heels and sheer nylons, for the harness and grommets, for the drag coefficient of silk, for the risers, for the light trapped in the canopy, for the flowers of ice, their six-sided crystals, for the songs and holy rollering and white sand, for the ineffable thrill of it all, for soft landings in hard times, for cushioning my fall. The space made by a room, with its furniture of sleep and nightmares, is not a simple matter of forms stacked between walls or children wandering the streets, losing themselves, when there should have been owls, white and gifted as dreamlets. No, the human body is altered after marriage. It needs no complication. Although some mornings we wake in a past bedroom, so familiar is the window and soft-footed, like the look of a pearl, that we feel we are the kind of stuff continuously inhabited by light and memories of light. Winter birds, falling out of the sky, more spirit than flesh, but with full knowledge of how on the body this hand-stitched finery of touch is gentle as a seventh skin, a veil between worlds. For though silk must have its weight in running water, and linen its wrappings and swaddlings like a bride her trousseau of birdsong, here in the sleep laboratory of accidents and ceremonies, there is only the yoga of clear light, the sleeping Lord. There had just been a war, and in its wake came glamour, cinch-waisted, gloved and hatted, up and down the land, the soft scrape of tailor's pins on tissue, tiny stencils of sound, as women and their apprentice daughters knelt to their guesswork. Barathea, organza, jacquard, poplin, reading in the dots and dashes, darts, back half belts, 7/8 sleeves, side vents, double peplums, while dragon's teeth sprang up in the aftermath. The trick was turning the chiffon or buffalo carefully round on the needle or shoulder of earth, goading garments or armour into eye-catching poses, Greek still being a classical affair, very vogue, very English, glaphuros and taffeta to mid-calf, when suddenly, out of a newfangled past, a brogue blew in, like a bare-arsed ruffian, kakotorake kauru, his grey clay of man-verbs threatening a landslide of glottals stuffed in the throat of foot soldiers, holding out in some Tora Bora on rations of flies and dry winds through an age of iron and thunder. All the war words that had been trying, like utility frocks run up from parachute cloth, to forget themselves and what they stood for. All those lives, times, locked tightly in, writing with no reading, all the key words in hiding. There had been a war, or soon would be again. Another lingo to go missing in action, or AWOL, its shot silks and syllables, left out in the sing-song rain. All Greek, no cribs, no titles, just these tiny stencils of sound. Meanwhile, the women, stitching themselves into a time and place that was never their own, sketching finicky self-portraits of lady slipper, love in a mist, in sulks or pastels, pressing the breath out of petals, or catching likenesses of night moths in a flutter of soft stuff, then garlanded with praise for the exquisite catastrophe of their femininity. But with her hair as the engine, a girl sits working the soft machinery of reverie, excusing herself from dinner, weaving the ins and outs of naked moonlit flits through tight-lipped buttonholes, birdcage underskirts, needling into the hackled folds of drapes and cat's cradles of conscience, tracing the bare lanes of winter as far as they'll fray into landscapes of April, restless and exorcising, mischievous as wheels.
Thank you.